Okay, let's give you guys another example. So we're going to try and sketch this in polar form. So we are trying to sketch this graph in polar form. But in order for us to sketch in polar form, we need to keep track of the radius each step of the way. So we need to keep track of the radius. We need to draw this graph first. Once we've got this graph, then we can draw our graph in polar form. So we need to keep track of the radius. So to keep track of the radius, well, start out with, well, use whichever method you want. If you have, start out with your function cos of x. So it's like this. Cos of x looks like this. So this here is 2 pi, and then squeeze it by a factor of 3. So that will then give you cos 3x, which will then look like this. Well, cut into 3. So you're going to have 3 cycles. 1, 2, 3, and so on. So start out with your function cos of theta, cos theta equals this graph. So your cos graph looks like that, like this, with a period of 2 pi. Now apply this transformation. So this here is 2 pi. You cut it into 3 equal pieces. So apply this transformation. It will then give you this. And then we need, looking back at this, so we squeezed it by a factor of 3. Now we need to change the amplitude. So apply this transformation. So this is your old function. Apply this transformation. It will then give you this. So really you're changing the amplitude. And then once you've changed the amplitude, then add 1. So you shift everything up by 1. Okay, so apply this so really your radius graph, this is r theta here, looks like this. Another cycle here, and then you've got another cycle here. Okay, so that will then give us this. So this is r, and this here is theta. So you're going to have another period here, another one here, and so on. So if you look at this here, all from here to here will be 2 pi, but then because you split it into 3 equal parts, then get this whole length divided by 3. So get the whole length divided by 3. So that will then give you this point, this here. So this mark here is 2 pi over 3. Well, for this bit here, it will be this length times 2. So it will be this thing here, 2 pi over 3 times 2. So that will then be 4 pi over 3. And then this point here is halfway from here to here. So if you want to know this point here, then get this length, which is from here to here. Get that length divided by 2. So get that length divided by 2. So it gets multiplied to the bottom. So this thing here will be 2 pi over 6. If you want to know this length here, this point here, then get this thing divided by 2. So get that thing divided by 2. So that will be that will get multiplied to the bottom. So it'd be 2 times 6 here, and then these two will cancel out, pi over 6. So this point here is pi over 6. So this whole thing here, this whole graph here will then become this. So you can use the same technique. It will then become this. And by the way, this point here, pi over 6, is actually 1. It's actually 1 here. So this is all 1 here. This here is 1. This here is 1. This here is 1. You might have to press pause and really think this through. But these points will be 1. Okay, so maybe you have to think about it. It will all be 1. Anyway, so now we've got this, we can then start plotting. We can then plot the graph. So this thing here, I'm just going to shrink it. So it will look like this. So now from here we can then plot our graph in polar form. So when the angle is pi over 6. So remember, pi is from here to here. That's pi, and then pi over 6 would be you cutting this whole angle into 6 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's really you cutting into 6 equal pieces. So this point, the first one will be pi over 6. Well, sorry, the first point should be 0. When the angle is 0, the radius will be 3. So when the angle is 0, the radius should be 3. So it's right here. When the angle is pi over 6, the radius is 1. So pi over 6 will be here. The radius should be 1. So 1 is here, so the radius of 1 must be somewhere around here. Must be somewhere around here. And then when it's 2 pi over 6, the radius will be negative 1. So this here is in the positive direction. Negative direction will be somewhere down here. So it's going to be somewhere around here. And then when it's 3 pi over 6, the radius is back a positive 1. So 3 pi over 6. So that's 1, 2, 3. The radius is 1. So it's going to be somewhere around here. The radius of 1. So this here is 1. So radius of 1 must be around here. Okay, so what it's doing is, so far it's doing this. It starts here, and then it moves to here, and then it moves to here, and then it moves to here. So we're going to guess it to be something like this. Something like that. It will cross 0. Don't forget, it will cross 0 right here, and also right here. So if you look at this here, it's going to cross 0 here, and then 0 again, and then back out here. So if you want to know where it crosses 0, here, what angle it will cross at 0, then you have to do this. Set this thing here to be 0, and then it's blah blah blah. You can solve it. Theta will be 2 pi over 9. That's when the radius will be 0. This here will be when the radius is 0, and so on. Think this through. Think this through. Theta will be 2 pi over 9, and also 4 pi over 9, and so on. There will be repeats. But in general, hang on, back to this thing here. So back to this thing. So we are currently at 1, 2, 3 pi. Now when it's 4 pi over 6, the radius will be 3. So the radius will be back out here. And then when it's 5 pi over 6, the radius will be 1. So 5 pi will be here. So the radius of 1 will be somewhere around here. So it seems as if it's doing this. And then 6 pi over 6, that's this bit here. 6 pi over 6, the radius will be negative 1. So 6 pi over 6, the radius is negative 1. So it's right here. Okay, so it seems as if it's going to do this, something like this. And then 7 pi over 6, the radius will be positive 1. So 7 pi over 6. So remember, 7 pi over 6 is right here. The radius is positive 1, so it will be somewhere around here. So it looks as if it's going to do something like this. And then 8 pi over 6, the radius will be 3. So 8. Hang on, where am I? 6, 7, 8. 8 is 8 pi would be right here, and the radius will be 8 pi over 6. The radius will be 3. So 8 pi over 6. This is 6, 7, 8 is here. The radius will be 3. So it will be right here. It will be right here. So it looks as if it's going to go out here again, and then 9 pi over 6. 9 pi over 6. That's this bit here, and it's actually 1. It's right here. It's 1. So at 9 pi over 6, it will be 1. The radius will be 1. So 9 pi will be 9 pi will be here. So so the radius will be 1. So we're going to guess it to be something like this. And then at 10 pi over 6, the radius will be negative 1. So 10 pi over 6 will be all the way here. The radius is negative 1, so it will be somewhere over here. So it's going to do something like this. And then 11 pi over 6, which is here. 11 pi over 6, the radius will be positive 1. So that will be here. And then I've lost track, but it's going to be here. And then 2 pi, which is 2 pi will be radius of 3. So this is back to 3 here. So it will do something like this. I think it's like this. But anyway, get a graph plotter and plot it, and it will give you something like this. Hang on. It will give you a graph looking like this. This is much better. Anyway, I hope you get the general idea.